Welcome to Daniel Boone Regional Library. Thank you for joining us for this special meeting of our Board of Trustees so that you can help us listen to and evaluate our two executive director candidates for the executive director position at DBRL. Before I turn it over to Grace Buckler, our board president, these flyers are outside the room in between the two doors into this room. You can scan a QR code to share your thoughts about the candidates' presentations. They will also be sent out with a Zoom recording that will be sent out tomorrow morning on social media from Daniel Boone Regional Library. Grace?
Since this is a special meeting, we are going to run it like a special meeting. So I need to call this meeting of the Daniel Boone Regional Library Board of Trustees to order. And we need to do roll call. Thank you, Emily.
Yep. Shannon Alvis. Here. Grace Buckler.
Here.
Dorothy Carner. Here. Seth Christensen.
Here.
Lisa Finn. Here. Mary Fennell. Here. Tanya Hayes Martin.
Here.
Jacqueline Kelly. Jean Howard. Corey Miller. Here. Pat Powell.
Here.
Travis Pringle. Jennifer Rodwald, and Nate Suttonfield.
Thank you. So I'd like to welcome you and thank you for your patience. Technology is great and then it isn't. And this is a little bit complicated. So I appreciate the IT people getting us running. I want to let you all know because we need to tell you this meeting is being filmed. So you may be on camera. So you need to be aware of that. And if you don't wish to be on camera, you can do there. So welcome. Thank you for coming. We're glad you're interested in this. We will, because this is an official meeting, we will have a public comment session now. So if anybody wishes to come up to this microphone here and make public comments before we begin the presentations, you may do so. You need to state your name and your address, name and address will be provided to Emily. So we just keep track of who does public comment with us. You have 3 minutes to speak if you wish to speak that long. Emily keeps time, so she'll tell you that your time is close to up and when it is. So the floor is open if anybody would wish to make public comment before we get started with the presentations. No one is moving. Is there anybody on Zoom that's asking to do so? Okay, thank you, because we are also live on Zoom. Okay, so our first candidate will come in. I'll introduce. We'll have a presentation. Then the second candidate will come in and do their presentation. And afterwards, there is a reception to mingle and talk, so you don't run away if you wish to have some more conversation. So Erin, please come.
Thank you.
And the floor shall be yours. This is Erin Magner.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Grace. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I see a lot of friendly faces in the audience, so thanks for taking the time to join us this evening. Okie dokie. So I'm going to use my clicker here. Yes. Perf. Thank you so much, Emily, for getting us fired up. Okay. So tonight, I'm going to share some information with you about something that I did, an initiative that we worked on at my previous library, the Richmond Heights Memorial Library. So we're going to talk about the expansion of digital resources at the Richmond Heights Library in response to COVID-19. And this initiative aligns with a challenge that many libraries are facing today. And that's, bridging the digital divide and connecting people with the electronic resources that they need to live fulfilling lives. So, and then I'm sorry, let me make sure I've got the right clicker here. That's a good first step. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Did you do it for me, Emily? Thank you. Okay. Emily's gonna help me with the clicker tonight. So thanks. Can you hear me okay? Also, by the way, great. Thank you. I also want to say, feel free at any time to interrupt me with questions. I very much want this to be a discussion. But I'll go ahead and give you my program overview as well. So libraries became crucial for patrons without home internet access during the pandemic, as we all know. So the Richmond Heights Memorial Library, where I worked in St. Louis, is one of 9 libraries that make up the Municipal Library Consortium. And that's kind of in mid-St. Louis between the county and the city. So just to kind of give you a little background about where we're located. So Richmond Heights Memorial Library adopted a 3-part technology initiative aimed at keeping our patrons connected during this time of crisis. So using grant funding, we purchased Chromebooks and a Wi-Fi access point in order to extend our internet access beyond our building walls. And we also worked with the Municipal Library Consortium to secure ARPA funds in order to expand our e-media collection as well. So, and then moving on. All right, so to cover the program goals that this initiative was aimed at, we wanted to ensure internet access for our vulnerable patrons during this, very scary time for everyone. This is including our job seekers, our seniors, our state parents working remotely with their children, doing, homeschooling, and, just connecting people to whatever resources that they need, bringing them together to keep them connected during this time of physical isolation. So we really wanted to just expand whatever digital resources we could at that time to make an impact. This enabled us to support virtual learning, online programming, job seeking, and social connection. So, who we were targeting, I kind of touched on. Seniors, these are folks that needed access to telehealth care and connecting with their family and loved ones. Of course, job seekers, these are folks that just needed to fill out their online applications or perhaps do virtual interviews so that they could keep themselves moving during this time. Of course, families and students, all of our work from home parents, folks working remotely, children that are now in school on their laptop all day long, right? So we wanted to be able to provide anyone that was under resourced in that area with Chromebooks and Wi-Fi in order to get connected to all of those great resources. All right, so let's talk about, thank you, Emily. How do we make this happen? So there were a couple of things that we did to get this project off the ground. We secured a $12,000 grant through the Missouri State Library. And the state library offers annual grants. They're called the Library Service and Technology Act grants. And so we were awarded a Tech Ladder grant, which is an annual grant that they make available to libraries in the state. Hotspots, I just wanted to note, hotspots were not available. They were not eligible for the grant in this year. Otherwise, that would have been an option that we would have pursued. But because that was not an option for us via the grant funding, we went with the Wi-Fi access point in order to try to get internet outside of our walls after hours were closed and things like that. So what did we do? We purchased, with that $12,000, we purchased our 20 Chromebooks, our Wi-Fi access point. And then at the same time, we had the ARPA fund and the ARPA grant going on through our partners with the Municipal Library Consortium. So one of 9 libraries, we did our part to join the spending committee and to use that $250,000 that was awarded to enhance our e-media collection. And so all of our patrons were benefited from that wonderful grant as well. And then finally, we collaborated with, local community organizations to get the word out. The Maplewood Richmond Heights School District, Maple Good, which is an organization that served underrepresented or under-resourced folks in the neighborhood. And then the city of Richmond Heights, of course, we were working very closely with them to get the word out about this initiative. So, thank you. All right, so how did this impact our community? It enabled us to expand our Wi-Fi outside of the building. We immediately saw a high demand for Chromebook usage as well as increased use of our e-media, and we addressed the needs of vulnerable patrons during that time. Okay, so more specifically, here are some program outcomes. 50% of the Chromebooks were checked out immediately within the first 4 weeks. So we viewed that as a very positive thing, and they consistently stayed checked out. We received a number of really positive feedback. We were sending surveys in with everybody as they went home with their Chromebooks so that we could gather feedback. And so a couple of the quotes that I happen to have in my notes was one patron was just thrilled that we offered the Chromebook for checking out, stating that now she would be able to Zoom with her grandchildren and stay connected to her loved ones. She had nothing at home before this. So, and another patron stated that he really enjoyed having the Wi-Fi because he could continue to work remotely from the parking lot after our limited hours were closed. And he did that for months because he was one of our regular, remote workers at the library. Yeah. So we had also, increased circulation of our e-media and high usage of digital checkouts for really all of the MLC, but Richmond Heights in particular as well. So. All right. So. Okay. So how did we meet our needs? We were able to reinforce the public library as a crucial hub for folks in a time of need and meet them where they were at when they couldn't be physically connected to us. We expanded our digital services as best we could, and we adapted to meet people's needs in a time of crisis. So we can innovate at any time. We often do. You see public libraries consistently changing and adapting every year, it seems like, to meet the new needs of our community. And so I just wanted to say thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for your dedicated support of the public library. We are so appreciative of you all being here tonight and spending this evening with us. That is all I have tonight to share with you about my program initiative. If there are any questions or comments or anything you would like me to expand on, I'm happy to discuss that as well. No? Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And while we transition, she'll be available to just chat with afterwards. Anybody can ask her anything they'd like within reason. And our second candidate who's going to present is Robin Westphal. And Robin, the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Before I get started, I just want to introduce myself just a little bit and tell you a little bit about who I am. I am Robin Westphal. I am your state librarian. I've been in that position for 6 years. Before being Missouri State Librarian, I was library director in Johnson City, Tennessee. And before that, I was library director for about 12 years in Chillicothe at the Livingston County Library. So I'm going to talk to you today about a program that I introduced in the Johnson City Public Library, where we integrated social work service into reference services. Is this my clicker? Okay. Okay. I can shoot you there's my glance. Do I have the ability to see mine in presenter mode? As long as it doesn't.
Is this what you need? Okay. Like this?
Yep. Okay. That works. Okay. So one of my all-time favorite books is a book called Palace for the People by Eric Kleinenberg. And in this, he talks about how a library is integral to social infrastructure. We all know what physical infrastructure is, but a library is critical in a community for that social infrastructure where people come together. And it's about building that social capital. And one of the quotes he says is, the library assumes the best of our people. The services it provides are founded upon the assumption that if given the chance, people will improve themselves. And I totally believe that, and that every day we have the opportunity to help make sure that the people who come into our door have the ability to improve themselves. So I arrived in Johnson City, Tennessee, after being library director in smaller Livingston County in Chillicothe, Missouri. Johnson City is a community of about 80,000 people, but it's a part of a metro area called the Tri-Cities. It's about 200,000 people. It really is sort of an oasis in the middle of East Tennessee. And so a lot of services are housed there, and it serves a wider community. There's a need for this program because while there was truly a plethora of services aimed at assisting the unhoused and vulnerable populations, not everyone was being served. And there was a variety of reasons for that. But certainly we felt that there was a lack of trust of some of the supporting agencies was an issue. Johnson City is located near many of those. It's right in the heart of downtown Johnson City. The library is right in the heart of downtown. And it really at that point was just serving as a referral agency to all of the other entities that were helping the unhoused. Staff were not trained to deal with patrons in crisis, but they absolutely, as I think a lot of library people who are in the library field wanted to help, wanted to do more to help this particular population. So we recognized that there was an issue. My very first all staff meeting that I had, I asked my staff, I want you to be completely honest. I want you to tell me what are some of the things that you wish the library did, or what are some services, or how can the library improve how we're serving the community? And for most of the staff, it was really in how we were serving those patrons that were vulnerable or the unhoused. They wanted to do more. They wanted to be more than just a referral service. So I sought out an opportunity for partnership. One of the first things I did when I moved to Johnson City was I joined the Rotary Club. And I met a person in Rotary. She was one of the head advisors for the Masters in Social Work program at ETSU, which is East Tennessee State University, which is the big university that's there in Johnson City. And then it just so happened that the library was the place where a task force met. The mayor had a task force that was initially established to address crime issues that were happening in downtown Johnson City, but it soon became a larger task force aimed at providing as many services as possible for vulnerable populations. This sounded like a natural partnership in the making. And one of those organizations that we ended up really partnering with was the Appalachian Regional Coalition on Homelessness. It not only worked out of Johnson City, but those other two cities that are part of the Tri-City area as well. So whenever you're looking at a program or an added service, you want to look at how is this addressing any of the needs? Three things immediately came to mind as to why this would be a successful program or could be a successful program. One of it was obviously address a community need. Despite the fact that there were an abundance of services available, there were barriers that were preventing those in need from gaining access. One of the things we wanted to do was to reduce disruption instances that we were seeing. We had full-time security, which was off-duty police officers that were in the library, and there were instances that were disruptive. But we thought if we were providing more than just referral, that we were actually there assisting, that maybe some of those instances could be reduced. What we did see is when we did introduce this program, that those with the increase in the services that we were providing or the contacts that we were having, that there was a reduction in the disruptive situations that we're having. And what really happened was the social workers who came and did their practicum at the library developed relationships with these officers. So in a lot of times they were managing situations together. And then finally, we saw this as a cooperative learning experience. What we wanted was our reference staff to know a little bit more about how social work services are managed and how they could maybe handle situations better and have those interactions with the public. And also for the social work interns who were coming to the library to do their field work, they would know why the library was the perfect place for them to do that field work because of the number of patrons that the library sees, the number of requests that the library sees for service. And just because, to be quite honest with you, those who go into social work, those who are doing social work, and those who work in the library have a lot of similarities. It's all about wanting to help the community and help the public. And so there was this opportunity for this cooperative learning opportunity. And any time that you can bring in an outside agency to show them what the library really does and see what the work of a librarian on the front lines, what that work looks like is a benefit, not just to the library, but to the entire community. So the project, I'm going to click myself onto the screen that I'm on here. So the project timeline, I'll just go through this pretty quickly. We identified the need. We talked about that. The staff really wanted a program like this. We made the connections, and this was all moving very, very quickly. I started in June, and this was like the first program that I initiated as I was working there. We presented a proposal. I needed buy-in, and I needed not just buy-in. I knew I was probably going to have buy-in from my staff, but I needed buy-in from the board. I needed buy-in from the Masters in Social Work program. I needed buy-in from the general nonprofit community that was also serving the same population we were in. So I was making multiple presentations around town about this idea of this project. Then the project was greenlit. And so here's what the project really looked like. I had my staff create a procedure manual. You're going to be having folks work at the desk with you that aren't going to be trained librarians. Let's talk about what the procedure is. What questions are they going to take versus what questions are you going to take, and sort of how that workload would look like. And so I completely wanted staff buy-in for that. And so they were the ones who created that standard operating procedure for that project. We then, in January, was the first semester that we were able to offer this program. And so we had 2 interns right from the beginning who were working on their master's degree, who wanted the library to be where their field study was done at, which was fantastic. That we had just got this project really off the ground, and we were able to launch it in January. By March, I can tell you that I was beginning to realize that there were some things that really needed to be tweaked about this program. So if we were going to continue to offer it the next semester, there were some things immediately that we wanted to tweak. And so some of those lessons learned was the fact that while our intentions were good, what we quickly realized is these are not the kind of interviews that you want to do at the reference desk. They require a little more discretion, a little more in-depth conversation. Tyler, you know this from the work that you do, that it was not going to work to have other people around or to try to have these pretty sensitive conversations right at the reference desk. The other part of it is that there was enough work for reference staff to do without adding this additional workload for them. And for the social workers, as much as I wanted to teach them how to be librarians, they had enough work on their hands as well. Just the fact that they were in the library to see what kind of interactions library staff has, I think was a benefit. But we quickly learned that in order, if this was going to continue to be successful, and I'm glad I'm able to say that they're still doing this program. It just looks a little bit different. that they were going to have to be sort of separate operations. So those interactions with the people that we were serving, really, we set up a room for that, very similar to the community relations room that you have here, so that those interactions could happen. The other thing we learned was these were students. They worked on student time. And so scheduling was a little bit difficult because we had to work around not just a school schedule, but for most of these students, a work schedule as well. So they didn't have the hours to dedicate to really get to learn what it would be like to work on a reference desk. So we set up a schedule that would work with both with the students and then also with the library, and then dedicated a room for that. And I may have covered most of these. Again, the service model had to be adapted. We had to be a more private area than what the reference desk allowed. The shifts had to be fluid, and we had to be accommodating of those shifts. And then again, as we talked about, that the services were better off if they were separate. It doesn't mean there wasn't a benefit to both the reference services staff as well as those students, but we just had to separate it a little bit more than what we had intended. And again, I have not been there for 6 years, but I am happy to report that this is a program that they're still continuing. And I did learn that one of those folks that was one of my reference staff people went on to get her master's in social work, in addition to the master's in library science she already had, and the library hired her so that she truly has both of those degrees and is able to serve in that role. So, thank you. Okay. You're welcome.
So that is the conclusion of our presentations. Do we have any other business? Say no. Okay. Does the board have any comments, announcements, anything else? Okay, so we will be having just a meet and greet, mingle. Feel free to talk with both of our candidates. We appreciate your feedback, and there are the feedback mechanisms. We really would like you to give us your thoughts. There will be the recordings up on the website until they'll be up tomorrow. And they'll be up until Friday too. If you want to revisit or send your friends to go look at that, you'll also be able to comment from that forum too. Yeah, so feedback is absolutely welcome. We want to do this well. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate you. There's some refreshments in the back. Feel free. Thanks. We are adjourned.